Oh, darn it. That's what I forgot to check. I forgot to check the levels. Okay, I think we're doing all right. How's that sound? So if there's any troubles with the sound, let me know and I will adjust them. But hey, everyone, thanks for coming back. We are in our live stream number 4 for coffee Q&A. And in these live streams, we answer your coffee questions with answers. And so if you have any questions, and if you're watching this live, hey, thanks for coming. If you're watching the replay, hey, thanks for coming. But either way, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments to the left if you're live, below if you're watching the replay. And especially if you're watching the replay, I will get to them and answer them in the comments as soon as I can. And so how's it going? We didn't have any live streams last week because we were away. I was in Pennsylvania and Ohio shooting. The first part of the week, I was in Pennsylvania shooting sporting clays for a couple of days. And then I went to Cleveland to shoot some more videos for the channel, visiting with some really great coffee people. An old friend of mine, Tony DeCorpo, who owns Troubadour Coffee. And then I made a visit with Christopher Ron from Phoenix Coffee. Two great guys in the coffee business. And I really think that there'll be some really great videos coming out of them, really good content. And these guys are really kind of, really forward-thinking people, both in retail as well as in green and roasting. So that's coming up. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about dosing and distribution of espresso. Now, first of all, let's put a bit of a caveat here. What's up, Rusty? Good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the welcome back. But this kind of a lot of the principles here are the basics. We're taking espresso dosing and distribution back to the basics. So those of you who are doing this single dosing kind of approach to making your espresso, this will not totally apply to you, right? This is really more for those who are grinding to order, that are using bulk, meaning bulk containers in their grinder. So like this one, we've got a hopper, a little bit of coffee inside it. We're going to be using the Mazzer Major Auto today, a really kind of old school coffee grinder. If you're using something like the Mythos Grind on Demand or the E30 Malkonig or something like that, it's going to have the grinding part is going to be different for you, because that's, there's certain ways that those grind. Those are designed to dispense so much coffee per seconds, but the distribution part will be pretty much the same. Also, for those of you who are doing single dosing, like whether you're weighing out your coffee and then you're using it in a niche grinder or fellow grinder or EK43, that's going to be a little bit different as well. But this is really for those of you who want to hone your craft and work on actual understanding of how to craft an espresso, kind of the old school way, but really it's all about the basics of what we've been doing. And there it is. Just have to make sure my wastebasket is nearby. All right, so we've got our portafilter, we've got our grinder. What we also needed today for the first part of it is the scale, right? This is an Adams Scientific scale, but use whatever scale you want. What you want is a scale that has enough capacity so that you can hold a portafilter as well as the amount of coffee, and you also have enough resolution so that you can get the detail that you need. So for our kind of usage, let me show you. On this particular one, I don't know if you can see that. Let me zoom in a little bit here. On this particular one, you're going to see that it says this is a Adams CB3000. So maximum is 3 kilos, 3,000 grams by 1 gram resolution. So what that means is that this can weigh up to 3 kilos. It can then it can show the detail down to 1 gram. So when you're buying scales, you can get heavier scales with not as detailed resolution, or you can get very detailed resolution without as much weight capacity, right? So when you get to the balance scales that are, tenth, hundredth, thousandths of a gram resolution, you're not going to have 3 kilo maximum capacity, right? You'll have something far less. Any questions? What's up, young man? Good to see you, man. I saw you got that skate the other day. Can you keep the skate and eat it? Because one of the best skates that I ever had was at a dinner I went to at Charlie Trotter's in Chicago, and he had this skate with these different dried herbs, making it ground into powders around it. It was perfect. It was beautiful, beautiful. Anyway, so what we're going to do, we're going to take our scale. Let me tilt the camera down so you can see what's going on here. All right, so we have our scale. And what we want to do is we want to turn our scale on, let it activate, and then we're going to weigh our portafilter. Now, all portafilters will be different. Even the same model of portafilter, same manufacturing portafilter will be a little bit different, maybe a few grams different. That's not a big deal. So right now, this particular La Marzocco bottomless brass portafilter, a little bit dirty, with the VST basket, weighs 535 grams. That's fine. We're going to zero it out. Somehow. Oh, this is a little bit cantankerous. Let's try again. Okay, let us turn it on with another trick. If it doesn't work, you can also turn most scales you can turn on with the portafilter on it, and it will essentially zero it out because as it recalculates, whatever, you know. Oh, I see you let it go. Okay, that's a very good thing. All right, so now here's the thing. So when we're training baristas to do this in our shops, it's kind of a lengthy process because there's a lot of work that goes into developing muscle memory so that so when you guys are making coffee at home, you see a lot of these home guys and they talk about, I'm going to weigh the shot, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do all this stuff. That's great when you only have to make 1 or 2 shots of espresso. However, when you're trying to work a bar and work a line and like you've got a rush going on and you really need to, you know, if it takes you 2 minutes to make a drink, or if it takes you 4 minutes to make a drink at home, no big deal. But if it takes you 4 minutes to make a drink and you don't understand how to stack that process, then that 4 minutes suddenly now has become 24 minutes for the 6th person in line. You know, 7th person is out to 32 minutes, right? So you don't really have that kind of luxury. So you have to build a lot of muscle memory and work out a lot of the processes so that you can be efficient and quick, right? Not necessarily fast. You need to be efficient, right? Like that's one of the things that people tend to falter when they're first starting out. They start to fall behind a little bit, and then they think, oh my gosh, I got to speed up. And so they start to speed up, but since they don't have the mastery of skills, they don't have the efficiency. Speeding up only causes greater problems because they make more mistakes. Basically everything goes to hell. So then they get further in the weeds and everything just kind of falters. So the important thing is to take your time, go slowly, work deliberately to build the skills. And then eventually, the more you do it, the more efficient you become. And the more efficient you become, the speedier you can go. So now what we're going to do, so now the thing with this part is you have to decide on how much coffee do you want to use. Some of you want to use 18, some of you want to use 17, whatever you want to use, that's perfectly fine. The thing is to decide on that quantity. For Spro, we use 21 grams. And what we're going to do is we're going to dose and dispense 21 grams. All right, so now we've got our ground, and we're just going to, the scale is already tiered to as you can see, it says 535 negative. So it's already automatically tiered to the weight of the portafilter. So all we have to do is drop this on here and we will see how much we actually dispensed. All right, so if you see here, we have 24 grams. So a little bit much. So what I'm going to do in this case is just get rid of a little bit of it. I got rid of 1 gram. All right, there we go. 21 grams. And that's what we want to get. So now what we're going to do is we're going to distribute the coffee. So first of all, what are we looking to distribute? Why do we distribute? What we want to do with distribution is to get an... Oh, hold on one second. Let me just readjust this camera so that so you can see what I'm talking about here. Why do we want to distribute? We want to distribute so that there's an even bed of coffee to give even resistance to the 135 pounds of pressurized water that's hitting the surface. Water follows the path of least resistance. So any kind of weakness in your bed resistance will be exploited by the flow of the water. That weakness, that exploitation of the weakness, will result in uneven brew extraction and typically, under extracted coffee. So we want to distribute the coffee evenly. Now, as you can see here, we don't really have any clumping, right? Some grinders have a lot of static and give clumping. Some do not. The early Malconic K30s were really kind of notorious for that, which is why they had to add some accessories that reduce that clumping. And I think there's these, the WDT tool, which I think is a little bit of a strange oddity. However, if you've got a grinder that actually does a lot of clumping, then I think the WDT tool can be a good resource for you to help break that up. As you can see with the Mazda Major, there's really no clumping, and it's just a matter of distributing the coffee evenly, right? I don't really know, though, if the clumping is as critical, meaning that I don't think the clumping really destroys your resistance. That's the theory behind from what I've read from other place sources. But every time that you go to distribute your coffee can be a whole different world, right? So we're looking here and we're looking for low spots. Are there low spots? There's not really any low spots. Maybe there's a problem spot here, maybe back here. Personally speaking, my personal area of difficulty usually tends to be back here. If ever I'm deficient in my distribution, it's usually in the back end. All right, so now we're just going to I'm going to use my finger, right? Like you have these tools, these distribution tools. And I kind of laugh because people are like, well, do you have a distribution tool? Yeah, I got my finger. And I'm just going to go laterally. So I'm going laterally, right? What you want to do is only go laterally. You don't want to go any kind of, and I try to leave my finger just slightly, actually I'm exaggerating now, but slightly convex, like this. Not concave, convex. That way you leave a little bit of mounding and you're not pushing down anywhere. You're just really just moving the coffee around on a lateral motion. I like to use the flat thing, right? There was a company in the Netherlands somewhere, not Netherlands, but up there in Scandinavia called Stockfleths. And they would have this style where they would utilize these two fingers and swipe like this. I think I don't really do that. What I also do is I tend to leave just a little bit of mound here at the top, right? So that when the compaction comes from the tamper, it pushes down and kind of pushes out. It is an uneven science, so that you don't really know if it's going to push evenly out, but it tends to push it out, right? It tends to push it out, and that's basically it. So let's just go through that a little bit. Let me just tamp that down and let's see how this shot turns out. Oh, also you want to get rid of the I get rid of the excess grinds, right? There's usually some here on the locks. I usually wipe it off of the rim of the basket. And then we will go to brew the espresso. Let me just adjust again. So, of course, as always, flush. Make sure it runs clean. Make sure that in this type of, heat exchange machine, that the bubbling kind of slows down. So we get our espresso. Where's the lock? There it is. Oh, look at that. That's not looking good. That's looking very bad. All right, so that's looking really bad. That did not look very nice. A lot of resistance, so it start out slow, and then suddenly just kind of and just shower it everywhere. So what is this showering thing? This showering thing shows us that there's a problem with the distribution. So we're going to go look into it. Let's look at our espresso first, though. So this is ugly. Look at that. That's ugly. I'd be embarrassed to serve this. But let's look at the crema. The crema has nice dark reddish brown, right? It's an even tone. I am definitely one of the people that likes the flecking, the darker flecking, because that just gives a little more character. Visually, I think it's more appealing. It also looks more tasty. So as with anything, we want to taste. We always want to taste our espresso, no matter how badly we might think it looks. By tasting, it informs us. It informs and teaches us what we need to know. So hot, sharp, lightly bitter, not too bitter, not much sweetness, not terribly enjoyable. I also, if you remember at the bottom of the basket, I hadn't cleaned. So I'm also suspecting that there is some issues there with the flavor. Like the flavor has this not so nice taste. All right, so let's have a look. The important thing is to look at your portafilter and puck. And that helps us to determine what's going on. All right, let's look here. Can we see that pretty well? Oh, we're not seeing enough detail. Let me adjust the ISO here so we can go a little bit brighter. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, good. So now, if we look, we're not really seeing one of the big culprits that you'll see in difficulties with distribution is you'll see actual like little burrowing somewhere on the puck. But as you can see here, we're not really seeing any burrowing. Right? There's no channels that are happening. There looks to be even resistance in the coffee bed. Huh. Also, what we're going to do is we're going to press down and see about the compaction. Is it firm? Does it give good resistance? And does it feel dry? Right now, this feels dry, which is a good sign. We're getting good extraction, even though it was a mess. I don't really understand that. Okay, we're going to now knock out the puck. Now the puck comes out whole. And that's pretty good. That's a nice looking puck. I'm going to throw that away. Now, another thing we like to look at is the bottom of the portafilter basket. As you can see, it's very clean, right? There's no residual oils remaining in the basket. Here's the thing. When you have residual oils, that tells you something. It tells you that you either stop too early or stop too late, because too early, there'll be residual oils. too late, there'll be residual oils. If you stopped at the right point of the extraction, it'll be clean. So this is clean. How long did that take? I don't know. I don't actually pay so close attention to the timing, but that's something. Good. All right, let's brush this all out, reset. Let's clean that off. Sorry, that's kind of embarrassing. Goodness. And we're going to try again. Now, I suspect that maybe part of this is because there could be older coffee left in the chute of this grinder. You know, the Mozart grinders are a little bit older, so they don't have quite the same. They might retain a little more coffee than, let's say, the newer grinders. So that could be what's happening here. All right, let's do this again. We're going to get our portafilter. We're going to try this again. We're going to dry it out. Make sure it's nice and clean before you put coffee in it. You don't want any old grinds that are going to affect the flavor of the coffee. All right, so our scale is still running. So we're going to grind coffee again. All right, there we go. Put this much coffee in. I think this is probably a little bit much. Let us go back here. 25 grams. So yeah, a bit too much. Let me just pull some of that out. $22. 21. All right, there's 21. You can see 21 grams, right? Let's go back here, lower that down. Oops. Again, we're going to look at the portafilter, the basket. We see some holes here, right? And one right here. One right here, here. So we have 4, they're holes. Potential, these are potential problems for channeling. So what we want to do is, this time I'm going to start by pushing the coffee this way, right? And really trying to get into those areas without dropping any of the coffee. And I'm really just trying to get around. Again, I'm going to leave a little bit of a mold there. I'm going to drop that down, feel it out. There's a little bit of residual stuff. We're just going to get rid of that, see if there's anything on the edge. Good, clean. Flush again. Ooh, that looks a little bit better. Oh, maybe not. Ooh, that's ugly. That's also ugly. Maybe the coffee's getting a little bit older. All right, again, here we go. This is the crema is very light. Look, it's starting to break already. Oh, there's a pungency to this one. I mean, to be honest with you, this is coffee that I roasted about a week before I left. So it's about maybe it could be 3 weeks old. So it's definitely not performing as well. So now, but today's episode really is about dosing and distribution. So we want to make sure we're really working on our dosing and distribution, not necessarily the finished shot. That's what I'm not too worried about. Okay, so let's have a look here. Let me pump up that. So if we look, and here you can see that. There we go. Right about here, there's a little what looks like it could be some kind of hole. I'm not convinced it is. It might be. They tend to be a little bit more distinctive in their when they're channeling. But it looks like we have good resistance, right? It looks like there's good. Is that focus yet? Yeah, there we go. Looks like there's good resistance, compaction. We're gonna knock it back out. The puck looks solid, nice and whole. If we break it open, we can see there's no miscoloration, which hardly ever is. What I mean by miscoloration, that you may find that it's a little bit under. I mean, that it may not totally have been saturated, but that's very, that's a very, you would have to have severe channeling. You would have to have severe channeling in order for that to happen. All right, let's look at the bottom of the basket. So as you can see, the bottom of the basket, there are no oils. Well, there's maybe a little bit right there. But the oil-wise, no, not much at all. Okay, good. So that's pretty good. Those are the basics of dosing and distribution. Now, the thing is that how do you build your skills dosing and distributing? And really, it's just a matter of practice. And so what we do at Spro is that we have, when we're training new baristas, this is what we have. We have this espresso grind dose execution sheet. And what this is basically 160 cells where the trainee will basically dose and weigh. So what they're going to do is basically you're just going to sit there. You're going to dose the coffee. Whoops. Distribute the coffee a little bit and then weigh it. Oh, look at that. I won't touch it so you can see. Shazam, 21. Not too bad for an old guy, huh? Not too bad. And so basically, what you're going to do is you're going to do that and then enter on the sheet how much coffee you dosed. So just like that, 21. And in this case, we let them figure out, like, because you can reuse the coffee that's inside the ground hopper. So we don't consider that waste. It's only the stuff that falls down here. So maybe we'll lose a gram. We don't really want to lose more than a gram at the most. That's the one thing where the newer generation of grinders like the Mythos, the newer K30E and all those, they're better because they really control that waste. Like on these older ones, you really have to be very cognizant and conscious about how you're working the grinder so you keep waste to a very minimum. Now, it's very difficult to have no waste on these. It is possible, but it takes a lot of work. So what you do is you basically, for us to certify a barista, basically I'll have the barista come in and they'll train and our trainings usually are about 2 hours a day. Because, I think that after 2 hours, you start to lose focus. You just kind of like, you're just not retaining as much. So 2, maybe at the most 3 hours a day, we'll train baristas. And this will be part of that training. So they'll go through this whole sheet and they're just recording. They're just recording, trying to get to 21. Now, when they finally go for their certification, we do have another sheet that's 10 cells. They can have 1 gram waste maximum. And they must hit 21, and they must hit 21 grams 10 times in a row. And it's brutal because if they do 9 in a row and their 10th is off, start again. It has to be, you have to show proficiency in and mastery of being able to control the amount that you're dosing and understanding how to work that. And that's really what's part of it, because, when you finally get to the bar to work, to serve guests, you need to have basic skills at a certain level so that you can be confident in the way you approach making drinks for the guests, and the guests can be confident that you're going to make them a drink that's not dramatically different than what they're used to. Any questions? Okay, so And that's basically it. So if you want to remember for dosing and distribution, we're going to, so let's look at this one. We'll do this last one here. What do we see here? Let me turn this up a little bit more. All right, so now we've got our, there's a little bit of crack here, right? Maybe that's a problem area. So I'm gonna sweep backwards this way to cover it. And that's really it. I'm pretty much done with my distribution. I don't have to do this whole spinning thing. And the spinning thing is like, you don't really know what you're doing. You're just spinning. What are you trying to accomplish? Do you understand what you're trying to accomplish? All right, so now we've got this settled. Let's go back to a little tamping there. We'll do another video later where we actually get more into the mechanics of tamping. Again, where we actually get into deeper of what I'm really looking for. Flush. These machines are so light. One thing that's not happy is well, this is a little bit better, but you can see, look, there's some spraying here. So obviously there's some problems. And actually, remember, it's happening, there's stuff. It's happening right here. This is where we saw that little crack, remember? So let's have a look at that on this taste. There it is. There's that brightness, that kind of like under extraction brightness, just not, there's no body, there's no oomph. And I think that's because we do have a little bit of channeling going on. Oh, yeah. If we look here, you can kind of see it right there. A little bit of channel there. There's the rest of it seems very much in order, but that channel right there, that's kind of where that crack was. I think the crack was more here, so sweeping around, we didn't really get that. That's a little bit irritating. We stopped it at the right point because it's clean, but it does taste not so nice. No more of that. All right, there we go. All right, so that's a basics on dosing and distribution for you. If you'd like to have a copy of this to work with, I'll actually post it to a Google Drive, and I'll put the link down below in the description so that you can have a copy of it and you can use that as you need to. I think it's a great tool to work with. And remember that you just need to work on, the idea with distribution is to try to cover up any areas that are going to be channeling, that could be prone to channeling, that will give you uneven extraction and just unhappy results. Like this last one was an unhappy result. So I guess that's good for now. Again, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments down below for the replaying. And thanks for tuning in, and appreciate you joining. Hope it helps. If you have any questions or ideas for future videos for the live stream or for the main videos, let me know in the comments as well. All right, so thanks so much. See you guys next time.